Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I recently received a comment on one of my videos that asked if I have any editing tips for when you're sitting on thousands of photos, either after a trip or generally you've just got a huge backlog. So today I'm going to go through a few workflow tips that have massively helped me over the years. To start with, your file management is key because that's right at the start of the chain. It's like the soil underneath your editing process. Now, I've spoke a little bit about my file management inside Lightroom before on my channel, but something I don't believe I've mentioned that is probably actually the biggest help out of all of these tips today is splitting up my photo shoots and my folders full of images into different folders if the subject has changed dramatically or the location has changed dramatically. So take a look at my folder for when we were in Lake Como for 2 weeks last year. As you can see, we've got Mountain Day Part 2, Town 5, Town 6, Town 7, Town 8. So despite the fact that most of them were all shot in Lake Como in Italy, they are then split up even further. So this has two major benefits. One, like I said at the start of this video, it means that you don't see one huge folder full of all the photos from that trip and just randomly find yourself jumping around, maybe editing one over here, maybe you do a little bit of adjustment to that and decide you actually want to edit this photo, and you just find yourself flipping around all over the place and not making any real progress. And secondly, I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail later in this video, but it allows you, when you're inside Lightroom, to see a folder, see how many photos are inside that folder, and then given how much time you have in that moment to edit photos, you can pick a folder that aligns with maybe how you're feeling or how much time you have. Because I work from Lightroom to Photoshop and I do my final little tweaks and mastering and exporting inside Photoshop after Lightroom, I have a folder on my computer called Photoshop Queue. Basically, all this is a landing folder, so I can select one or as many photos as I want that are finished inside Lightroom, hit export, and they automatically land and get saved in that Photoshop Queue folder. So I know anything in there is ready to just have a little once over. The great thing about having this folder is maybe on one day I'm like, right, today's a Lightroom day and I'm gonna fill that folder up with a photo shoot. And the next day I might decide, not really feeling editing in Lightroom today, I want to take it a bit easier. I'm going to go into Photoshop Queue and master out those images. So obviously culling down your images is a huge part of the editing process. All photographers have to do it, especially if you've just come back from a trip with thousands of photographs. What I recommend doing to make the culling process a lot easier is going to the library view inside Lightroom and just moving all of the landscape orientation images and all of the portrait orientation images that are of the same scene but might have a slightly different crop, slightly different focal length, slightly different aperture, to sit together. This is going to allow you to browse through your Lightroom library, that folder that you're inside of with the arrow keys, and not get your head and eyes jumbled between landscape orientation, portrait orientation. You're going to see the landscape shots of a particular subject or scene together, so you can decide between those which one you like the best, and then the portraits. It's worth noting that you do have to become okay with the fact that you don't need to keep every single minute difference in the photos that you take. So if I was to take a photo of this plant here and I shot it here and I shot it here and I shot it here, I don't need every single minute composition or framing change. So it does come with time, and you'll probably find that the faster and better you get at deleting raw files that you don't need, it also correlates with you getting better and better at photography, because your photographic eye is getting better and you know faster what photos work for you and which ones you want to keep. Okay, this is where it gets juicy. Well, not really, because this isn't exactly a juicy topic, is it? What I do is I go inside a folder, I pick a folder that I'm going to edit for the next hour, the next day, whatever it may be. And the first thing I do is run through all of those images in the strip at the bottom, and I apply my cropping to every single image before I start any lighting or color adjustments. This has two benefits because it allows you to get every single image within that folder ready for the big edit. It's like getting it to the maximum form of a clean slate. It's cropped up, it's ready, it's framed, and then you can go and do the good part, the fun part, the heavy lifting. Secondly, I guess a little bonus of doing all your cropping first is it gives you one more pass through of all of those images to clean up any stragglers. Maybe you've got 3 or 4 images that you really want to keep, but once you crop them up, you actually decide, oh, I don't really need those 2 because they don't crop as well as this one, or X image doesn't look as good as Y image once it's cropped. So it just gives you that second run through to get rid of any images that you don't really need inside your catalog. The key is editing as much as you can, but only for the periods of time that you really feel ready to edit. So perhaps you wake up in the morning, you have a morning coffee, and you sit down and you've got an hour, and this is where you can pick one of those folders, and once you're done, once you've got to a certain stage, you can take a break, come away, go for a walk, whatever it may be, and not get overwhelmed with the amount of photos that are in there. It's like having little stepping stones to cross off. Now, of course, you can copy and paste edits, and this is a great way to get through loads and loads of photos at the same time. So if you're really happy with an edit and then you've maybe got a portrait version of the same scene and the lighting's the same and everything like that, simply copy and paste your edit from there to there. You might need to make a few little tweaks, but this is going to speed up your editing as well, because you don't want to be applying all those adjustments to basically the same photo with a different crop or a different orientation. And also try to remember that you can re-edit photos at any time. That's the beauty of RAW files. So don't stress too much about tweaking every little node to perfection, because you can come back in and make little adjustments later down the line. All right, that's gonna wrap up this one. I hope it helped some of you out there. I know it's a very organizational, workflowy type video rather than really a hands-on photography video or talking about photos per se, but I was asked for the tips, so I'm making the video. If you've got any tips like this, drop them down in the comments to help everybody else out and myself, of course. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.